It's November the 6th, 2010. Um, I was listening to King World News and actually read it first before I listened to it. And he came out. Jim Rickards came out with Jim Rickards was being interviewed on King World News, and was discussing what the no exit problem that the Federal Reserve has. Basically, let's go over what he was saying. He was saying that the Federal Reserve has no exit strategy, and on the surface, I would have to agree. It sounds well. Actually, on the surface, it sounds like a great hypothesis. And his hypothesis was this: that the Federal Reserve has said that they were buying these mortgage-backed securities, these treasury notes and stuff like that, and they're not going to take a loss because they could always hold these things till maturity, and they won't lose any money if they don't sell them on the market. And so that sounds logical. So the Fed is basically answering the question is, okay, well, how are they going to not go bankrupt holding these securities, these bonds, when the market decides to raise the interest rates, or the Fed has to raise interest rates, they're going to have to take a loss. Now, the Fed has also came out saying that if inflation starts to go crazy, that the Fed is going to sell these bonds and at higher interest rates to help, stem the tide of inflation. Well, they didn't say sell those bonds. They said they were going to sell bonds. That's the first thing that Jim Rickards did not take a note of. They didn't say the bonds that they've purchased. That's the critical thing that they didn't mention. Now, the Fed has been caught in a lie, and I'm going to show you that at the end of this video. But at the same time, liars like to avoid the lies whenever possible. So they've said that they're not going to monetize the debt, I mean sell the debt, sell those. They said they were gonna. They said both. They're not going to sell the debt. They're going to hold it to maturity, and they said they're not going to. They're going to sell debt, in order to stem inflation. Now, what Jim Rickards did not consider is that the Fed could sell some other note, its own debt note. Now, if it's able to sell its own debt note, what happens is you are buying a bond of the Federal Reserve. So you own the assets of the Federal Reserve if you buy those bonds. And the Federal Reserve is the company that prints the money. So if they need to instill confidence that they would into the market, they can sell their own bonds, and that would instill confidence, because they won't take any immediate losses on the interest rates of those bonds that they do sell, because they will they still have a huge pool of assets, as Jim Rickards pointed out. He said that they've got $57 billion on a $2 trillion portfolio to cover the $2 trillion debt note portfolio. So they do have enough to pay interest on any kind of bond that they decide to sell. Next, they can also start monetizing through back doors and stuff like that, in order to hide the fact that they're directly monetizing. Not only that, if they're unable to sell their own bonds, I'm sure that they'll be able to figure some other backdoor way in order to both instill confidence in the dollar and sell bonds to the suckers, basically. Now, the reason why I say suckers, because it's still not a solution, obviously, because the end game is still a hyperinflation scenario. It's just how can they delay it is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for how they can get out of it, because they can't. It's how they can delay the end game. And this is how they can delay it. Right? And the reason why I've always looked for how they can delay it is because I got screwed in 2008. Because I thought they wouldn't print the money and give it to the banks, but clearly that's what they did. So that means they're going to come up with some solution to keep the confidence game going. With that said, here's Ben Bernanke promising that he will what? Not monetize the debt?
Will the Federal Reserve monetize this debt?
The Federal Reserve will not monetize the debt.
And cut.
Here you go.
You're joking, right? What's this?
Your payment.
I don't think so. This is what I'm looking for.
Gold and silver is money and nothing else.